Hey guys, we've got a special one for you guys today. We've got the 4 Lord of the Rings scene boxes. So we're gonna go ahead and crack them open, show off the different scenes, and then each one comes with 3 set booster packs. So we'll get to open a couple of boosters as well. Which one do you want to start with, Santosh?
I don't know. We'll start with that. Flight of the Witch King.
Okay. Where's the full tab? So first you've got this, they call it an easel for you to display your art cards. So on this back side here, you see it's got a little punch outs here for you to put each of the 6 different art cards. And we'll set that up at the end so that you can see those. And the box is absolutely gorgeous. It's a shame you have to throw it away. But yeah, like I said, there's 3 set boosters in each one, and then you've got the full set of the 6 playable foil cards, and then you have the art only scene cards. You get these cardboard punch outs, which in my opinion are completely useless.
No, you can use it to separate cards in the. They are thicker than the and taller than the regular
cards?
Magic
Okay.
cards. Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't use them.
Yes.
And then you've got this main box that contains all the goodies. So the 3 booster packs. And then you've got the scene cards themselves and the art cards. Let's start with the art cards. Get those out of the way before we look at the real playable pretty Magic cards. Here, I can move that for now.
Yeah.
And that's the full scene with the art cards, which are non-playable. They're just pretty. See, they don't have a regular Magic card back. It just says Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Art Series. And then it tells you what the card is, the artist, and then how many there are and which one it is.
You wanna keep these on screen?
Yeah, we can. So we've got Call Forth the Tempest, which is this art card here. Oh,
Do you wanna?
yeah, put it off to the side so that we can
Yeah.
show them side by side. The Nazgul Battle Mace, which is, well, here, let's go through the cards. Call Forth the Tempest. 5 mana and 3 red for a sorcery. Cascade. So it cascades twice when you play it. Cascade, if you don't know, is when you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom of your library in a random order, then do it again. So you get to flip cards from the top of your deck until you hit 2 cards that have a cost of 8 or less, and you get to cast those for
7 or
free.
less, right?
No, 8, 5.
Cascade is equal or less? costs less.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
So 7 or less. And then those 2 spells will actually resolve before this spell resolves. And then call forth the Tempest deals damage to each creature your opponents control equal to the total mana value of other spells you've cast this turn. So at the very least, you're going to get those 2 cascade spells, mana costs added together.
Yeah.
And
And it's on cast. So someone wanting to interrupt, it cannot really easily interrupt.
Even if you counter this, you still get the free cascade spells, unless those are countered individually as well. But yeah, one-sided board wipes are always nice. Then we've got the Nazgul Battle Mace, which is this card here. It is a 5-cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature has Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1, and whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control unless that player pays 3 life. And whenever a creature with Annihilator 1 attacks, defending player sacrifices a permanent. So at the very least, on every attack, it's going to let you steal your opponent's worst permanent. Then we've got Witch King Sky Scourge, which is 5 mana and 1 black, 1 red, so 7 total. For a legendary creature, Wraith Noble, 5/5. It has flying. Whenever you attack with 1 or more Wraiths, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is their total power. You may play those cards this turn. That's nice. I wish you could play them for free, but I guess you can't get everything you want. And it has Undying. So when this creature dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, you return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with an extra +1/+1 counter on it. So they gotta kill it twice, and the second time it's a little bit bigger. Then we've got Mordor on the March. For 3 mana, 1 red, and 1 black, you get a sorcery that says, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it. It gains haste until end of turn. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. But most importantly, it has Storm. So whenever you cast this spell, you get to copy it for each spell that you've cast before it this turn.
In fact, each spell cast before it, so even opponent spells are counted for Storm.
Yes. All the spells. So
I found that out the hard way.
Yeah. Storm mechanic is I love it. It can be a little broken if you design it to be. Then we've got the Fell Beast of Mordor. It's a 2 mana and 2 black for a 3/3 Drake Beast. It has flying, Devour 1. So as it enters the battlefield, you sacrifice any number of creatures, and this creature enters the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters on it. So when you cast it, you can sacrifice 3 creatures, and then it'll come in with 3 additional +1/+1 counters, etc., etc. And then whenever Fell Beast of Mordor enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So the more you're willing to risk sacrificing into it, the better it can be. You can drain your opponent for a lot of life very quickly with that.
Yeah, and a 4 mana 3/3 flyer in the right shell comes out as like a 4/4/5/5 flyer.
Yeah.
And in Aristocrats deck, you actually want to be sacrificing things.
Yeah,
So.
and God forbid you have any +1/+1 counter
Synergies
in the deck. Like you play that with,
Core Ward
season, etc.
Core Ward as the commander.
Yeah, it can get very dirty very quickly. We've got Minas Morgul, Dark Fortress. It is a legendary land. When it enters the battlefield, it comes in tapped, and then you can tap it to add 1 black mana. For 3 mana and 1 black, you can tap it to put a shadow counter on target creature. For as long as that creature has a shadow counter on it, it's a Wraith in addition to its other types. And shadow, for those of y'all that didn't play back in the 90s, is a ability that makes it so that you can only block or be blocked by other creatures that have shadow. So similar to like flying. But yeah. And then that is the full scene for the, what's this one called?
This is the Return of the Wraith King, no? Flight of the Witch King. Completely messed that up.
But yeah, the Flight of the Witch King scene. And we're going to save all the set booster packs until the end and open them all in one go. So this is my personal favorite. I'm a big fan of elves in any colors they come in. This is the Might of Galadriel. So, again,
and someday we're gonna have a commander play where Andres has built a Galadriel deck. He's taken the pre-con, and I'll let you explain.
Yeah, I've got this Galadriel Light of Valinor as the commander, and it is only Lord of the Rings cards. But yeah, Bant Elves, Lord of the Rings only. But yeah, we have the 3 set boosters again, the 6 art cards, and then the actual playable cards. So again, we have the display easel for you to display the art cards, and at the end of the video we'll set it all up so that we can show you all 4 scenes in the easels. But for now we'll put that aside. There we have the art scene. So, starting off, we have Arboreal Alliance, which is X and 2 green for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you create an XX green treefolk creature token, and then whenever you attack with 1 or more elves, you populate, which means you create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. You don't have to copy the treefolk, you can copy whatever you want.
And is that a token of another creature you control, or?
No, you get to copy one of your tokens.
So it could be a token of, say, a treasure, for example.
Yeah, if you need the extra mana, you can use it to copy your treasure tokens. Yeah.
Nice.
Galadriel, Light of Valinor, which is 2 mana, and Bant, which is green, white, and blue, for a 3/3 legendary creature, Elf Noble. It has Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get to choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. And you have 3 choices. You can either add 3 green mana, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, or you can scry 2 and then draw a card. If you've built the deck well, you'll get to do all 3 every turn, which...
Yeah. And even though you don't do it, it says each turn, which means you can do it on opponent's turns too if you have a lot of flashy stuff.
My version of the deck, seeing as it's Lord of the Rings only, I don't have a lot of the effects to make creatures on other people's turns.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can trigger that every turn every player's turn. So it can give you a lot of value very quickly. We have Rally the Galadrim, which is 2 mana and 1 green and 1 blue. For a sorcery, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, and then you get to conspire, which means as you cast this spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it, so either green or blue. And when you do, you get to copy it, and you can choose a new target for the copy. So if you have a lot of creatures out, you can make a lot of copies. Then we have Galadriel's Dismissal. It is 1 white mana for an instant. It has Kicker, which means that as you cast it, you can pay an additional 2 and 1 white. And then it makes target creature phase out. And if this spell was kicked, each creature target player controls phases out instead. So usually it'll be used as a protection spell to phase out one of your own creatures or phase out your whole team if you use the Kicker to protect them from a board wipe of something or something of that nature. But I've used it many times to great effect to phase out all of my opponent's creatures so that they have no blockers. So it works great at getting in that final swing of damage.
Do you want to explain the phase mechanic too?
Yeah, so phasing means that you basically just ignore the creature and treat it as if it wasn't there.
Yeah, all equipments, enchantments remain attached.
Yeah, anything that's attached to it stays attached to it. It just, for all intents and purposes, can't be interacted with.
Yes, and they phase back in at the beginning of your next turn.
End step.
Oh, on this, does it say end step?
Oh.
Phases, unless it says, it's usually comes in back at the beginning of their next upkeep.
Yeah, so treat them as though they don't exist until their controller's next turn. Okay.
I think before untap, because
yeah. I think it's an upkeep trigger technically.
Yeah.
Then we have Mists of Lorien, which is 2 and 1 blue for a sorcery. It has Replicate for 1 blue, so whenever you cast this spell, you can copy it for each time you paid its Replicate cost, and you can choose new targets for the copies. So the first copy of the spell costs 3, and then it's 1 mana for each additional copy you want to play at that time. And then you return target non-land permanent and each other non-land permanent with the same mana value as that permanent to their owner's hand. It's a great way, again, to either save your own creatures or get rid of your opponent's creatures.
Especially great against tokens.
Yes, yeah. So,
and each other non-land permanent, so it can phase it can bounce treasures, food.
Yes.
If they are creating 0 cost tokens, doesn't matter creature or not, it just
all of the free tokens go,
because it's not by name, it's by mana value, which is kind of busted.
It is a strong magic card. Speaking of strong magic cards, Galadrim Brigade. It is a great card. For 2 and 1 green, you get a 2/2 elf soldier that gives other elves you control +1/+1. But most importantly, it has squad for 1 and 1 green. So when you cast this spell, you can pay 1 and 1 green any number of times. And for every time that you do, you get to make a token copy of this creature.
Yep.
So if you do it 5 times, you have a total of 6 of these guys, which means all your other elves will get +6/+6.
Yeah, and see the interaction with Galadriel here.
Yes.
If you get 3 of these guys out by paying this card, Galadriel triggers all 3, and this is a huge army right away.
Yes,
It's
very good
a very
card.
sweet card.
Especially if you're running it in an elf deck.
Yep.
And that's a Galadriel box.
Very nice.
Next, we're gonna open the Gandalf in the Pelennor Fields box. So we've got Alorim's Searing Light, which for 2, 1 red and 1 white, you get an instant. Each opponent exiles a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. And then Spell Mastery, if there are 2 or more instants and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the power of the creature they exiled. So it gets rid of the biggest creature on everybody's side of the battlefield, and then it deals damage to them equal to its power if you happen to have played 2 instants or sorceries already.
So if someone drops that Eldrazi, you know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, importantly, it doesn't target the creature.
Yeah.
We have Sorceress Squall, which is 6 and triple blue for a sorcery delve. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting this spell pays for 1 colorless mana of it. So if you exile 6 cards in your graveyard, you can play this spell for only triple blue. Target opponent mills 9 cards. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. So, lets you mill your opponent for 9 and then steal the best instant or sorcery in that graveyard.
Should go in the Bruac deck.
Yes, I think this already has a home in Santos's mill deck. Yeah, these scene box sets came with a lot of very powerful cards. Rama's Ekor, Ancient Shield. This is a good one. For 3 and 1 white, you get Legendary Artifact. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you get to draw a card. And then create a 0/3 white wall creature token with Defender. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control with Defender gain Exalted until end of turn. And Exalted says that whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each instance of Exalted among permanents you control. So if you get a bunch of these tokens out there, like not even including that you'll probably be playing other creatures with Defender in the deck.
Yeah. It's great for,
You can make
I forget the name, but there's that dragon. That
Arcades Sabbath.
Yeah, which loves Defender. So this is a straight slot into that deck. It's a beautiful card.
Yeah, any Big Butts Matter cards or decks are going to want that. Courageous Resolve. For 2 and 1 white, you get an instant. Up to 1 target creature you control gains protection from each of your opponents until end of turn, and you draw a card. So it can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage, enchanted, or equipped by anything controlled by those players. So it's a good way to save your creatures at instant speed. And then Fateful Hour. If you have 5 or less life, you can't lose life this turn. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. It's a good way to save yourself in the moment if things are looking terrible for you.
Yeah. And I like both the name and what it does. It's like the last moment. I'm about to die, but I got something up my sleeve. It's a flavor win for me.
Great card. Then we have Gandalf of the Secret Fire, which is 1 and 1 blue, red, and white.
Just got
For a 3/4 legendary creature avatar wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand during an opponent's turn, you exile that card with 3 time counters on it instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. Then if the exiled card doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So Suspend says that at the beginning of your upkeep, you remove the time counter from it. And when the last one is removed, you get to play that card without paying its mana cost. I really want to build a commander deck around this.
Doctor and Rose.
Yes.
That's a beautiful timey-wimey deck. It just feels a little impure to put Gandalf in there, but this card fits
Yeah.
so beautifully into that shell.
Yeah, it's a very interesting effect, letting you recast the spells that you play on your opponent's turn 3 turns later for free on your turn. So my thoughts are a lot of like damage-based removals.
But I think it doesn't.
No counter spells.
But it
Counter
doesn't
spells.
resolve though. It doesn't resolve on opponent's turn. It doesn't say.
No, it does.
No. Whenever you cast, exile it.
Yeah, but instead of putting it into your...
Oh, as it
exile,
resolves. As it resolves. So it does
So, yeah.
resolve. So that's a second effect.
Yeah.
You get a second free spell. Yeah. I didn't read that.
So Fell Beast Streak is 1 blue and 1 red for a sorcery that says each opponent chooses a creature they control. Tap and goad the chosen creatures. So until your next turn, those creatures have to attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. And then you can splice it onto an instant or sorcery for 2, 1 blue, and 1 red. And splice means that as you, since it's spliced onto instant or sorcery, that means that when you cast another instant or sorcery spell, if you pay the 2 and 1 blue, 1 red, you get to attach essentially a free copy of this to that spell. So
Now here's the question:
good way to
does
get-
that count as a cast also? It's a second spell
No.
cast.
no, it doesn't.
No. So it doesn't
Because-
increase the storm count, for example.
No, because it doesn't resolve as its own spell. It adds its effects
So it's still
to
only
this
one spell.
other spell.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a great way to get good card advantage, though. It lets
Yeah.
you play a card more than once.
Yep.
That's the what's it called? The Gandalf in the Pelennor Fields scene. So we've got Andoril, Narsil Reforged. For 2 mana, you get a legendary artifact equipment. It has Ascend. So if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game.
And it's a state-based effect. So as soon as this is out and you have 10 permanents at any point, you ascend.
Yeah. And it's important to note that it's any types of permanents. So lands count, tokens count, any permanent. And then whenever equipped creature attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And if you have the city's blessing, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control instead. And it equips for 3 mana. One thing that I really like is that it lets you boost up all your creatures. Usually with effects like this, it's just the creature that's wearing the equipment, but this lets you buff up your whole team.
Yep.
Aragorn, Hornburg Hero, for 1 red, 1 green, and 1 white, you get a 4/4 legendary creature, Human Soldier. Attacking creatures you control have first strike and renown 1. So when a creature with renown 1 deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it becomes renowned. Honestly, I think it's a little bit of a weak ability. Whenever a renowned creature you control deals combat damage to a player, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. That's nice. So that makes it a little bit more worthwhile.
But I have a question about renown. Like,
Yeah.
let's say you didn't have this card out and you put a counter on something through some other effect. When this entered,
It wouldn't count as being renowned.
but then it would never become renowned.
No, it will.
How? Because the way
when it deals damage to a player, then you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it becomes renowned. So even if it had a
Oh.
+1/+1 counter,
So the
for
+1/+1
another
doesn't
thing,
give it renown. The trigger
Gives
gives
it
it renowned once
Yeah.
you put it after damage.
Yeah.
Understood.
So if you already had it with +1/+1 counters and then gave it renown, it would still be able to get an additional +1/+1 counter and become renowned.
Okay. And once it's renowned, it stays renowned whether or not Aragon is on the
That's
battlefield.
correct.
So when he
Yeah.
comes out a second time, you can't get to put another counter when he deals
No,
damage.
you can't.
Got it.
And then we have Legolas's Quick Reflexes. For 1 green mana, you get an instant with split second, which means that as this spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. So there's no responding to this effect. You get to untap target creature, and then until end of turn, it gains hexproof, reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. So, worst case scenario, you can do it on attack to deal its damage to 1 creature, or if it has its own tap effects, you just get an incidental way to
Ping something.
pick something off of your opponent's side of the battlefield. It's a great card. And it just protects your creature as well, because it gives it hexproof. So you can use it as a protection spell and then use that creature's abilities and coincidentally get to kill one of your opponent's creatures. We have Gimli's Reckless Might, which is 3 mana and 1 red for an enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. And then Formidable. Whenever you attack, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target attacking creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So it's a good haste enabler, and then honestly, any deck that's giving their creatures haste will probably be able to add creatures power up to 8, and it means you get to kill one of your opponent's creatures before they can block with it.
Yep. Or you run a 1/1 Death Toucher, and that is good enough to.
Yeah, true.
The fight though can take out your creature too.
True.
It's not a
True,
punch.
but
it's
you can get rid of a creature
something that is really
that
bad.
would just chump block or what
Right,
have you.
exactly.
Or their death touching creature
Yes,
so that they
yes.
can't block.
Yes. Lot of utility, yes.
Isengard Unleashed is 2 mana and triple red for a sorcery. Damage can't be prevented this turn. If a source you control would deal damage this turn to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals triple that damage instead. And then flashback for 4 and triple red. And flashback means you can cast it for that cost from your graveyard.
It's a great finisher.
Yeah, triple damage is quite a bit, and you can play it early in the game to deal with like a troublesome creature,
Or opponent.
or opponent, and then you still have another opportunity to use it while it's in your graveyard.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, use it on turn 5 to kill Andres. and then
use it later to kill whoever's left.
yeah.
And then we have Rohirrim Chargers, which is 2, 1 red and 1 white for a 4/4 human knight. You can exert it as it attacks, which means that it won't untap during your next untap step. It's basically like giving itself a stun counter. And whenever you exert a creature, you get to reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an equipment card. Put that card onto the battlefield attached to that creature, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's a good way to pull equipments out of your deck and immediately onto the battlefield. And the nice thing is, it says whenever you exert a creature, so it doesn't even have to be himself.
Yeah.
So at worst case scenario, he exerts himself to get you the equipments. But if you have a lot of creatures in your deck that already want to be exerting, you just get to search for free equipment.
Yeah.
Great card. And that is the, what is it? Aragorn at Helm's Deep scene. Okay, here is the 4 scene cards in their display easels. We've got the Witch King here, Galadriel, Gandalf, and Aragorn.